instead of striving for perfection and constantly be letting myself and others down, and then I start guilting myself and shaming myself, and I go into this spiral, and then I go down, and I'm like, I'm worthless, I suck, everything I touch turns to crap. Like, this whole narrative gets stronger and the volume gets turned up on it. I don't add anything to anybody else when I think and feel poorly about myself. So giving myself enough grace to just slow down and say, like, I don't have to be perfect. What am I supposed to be doing with my time, with my life, with how I'm spending myself? In journaling through that, it was abundantly clear. It's just paint the apple. Just paint the apple. I've got a canvas that is my life. I have colors that nobody else has. You, Jim, have colors that nobody else has. Like, you look at like hex codes. I mean, being a marketing guy, like hex codes and RGBs and like how many different combos. I mean, they're almost endless, the combos of colors that we can create. I have mine and you have yours. I can paint whatever I want on my canvas and it will always be mine. If your goal is money, sure, there's a lot of money to be made in roofing. There's a lot of great relationships to be made in roofing. There's a reason I'm still around. I know how to do other stuff. I'm not a roofer. I'm scared to death of heights. I live in a 1-story house on purpose. I can clean my own gutters, but it requires intention. You must be willing to actually reflect internally and get to know yourself.
Welcome to the Roofing Success Podcast. I'm Jim Ahlin, and I'm here to bring you insights from top leaders in the roofing industry to help you grow and scale your roofing business. Jeff Valder, how are you today?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you doing today, Jim?
I always put an N in your name for some reason. I don't know why I want to all the time. I always want to throw an N in your name. Jeff Valder, not Valdner. I always do it. Every time I say it out loud, I'm like, Jeff Valder. I don't know why. It's okay, Jeff Valder. Jeff Valder.
I'm a child of the 80s, man. I was Darth Valder. I've been Lord Voldemort. Like, it doesn't really matter, man. I get it. I actually kind of realized that my last name isn't Johnson or Smith or something like that. So it happens. Yeah.
So Jeff Valder, how's it going today?
It's going awesome, man. I think today's Groundhog Day, I think
it was yesterday.
Was it?
I saw the prediction there, Jeff, and we got six more weeks coming. That's what Punxsutawney Phil told us here. So Punxsutawney Phil, whatever his name is.
Yeah. Six more weeks to what? Winter or summer?
Winter.
Okay.
Winter. We're getting it, man. We're getting it. So
that's right. I'll take it.
So Jeff, for our to introduce you to the Roofing Success listeners, how did you get around and in roofing?
I think like everybody did, by accident. So I live in Lincoln, Nebraska. I moved here several times in my life, which is kind of weird. But let's see, it's about 9 years ago right now. I was working at another company that was gigantic. I'll leave them nameless. Didn't love them. I honestly kind of had this like limiting belief that like I couldn't find anything else like that in Lincoln. Like, I'm working for this big Fortune 25 company with all these benefits and stuff like that. And then I just realized that I was wrong. So, ended up getting to be part of, and I say that very accurately, getting to be part of a reduction in force that they did like pretty much every March. And I had actually talked to my manager kind of discreetly and said, hey, if you have any way to put my name on that list, like, please do it. Because there were people on my team that really loved working there. And I was like, I would be sick if I got let go and then they didn't, or vice versa. They got let go and I didn't. But so then took that whole summer off of 2017, which is amazing. My wife and I went on a awesome month-long road trip, which was incredible. And a friend of mine, Kyle King, I'll give him a shout out on here. He lives just down the street from me. He's at that time was the marketing director at Company Cam, which is headquartered here in Lincoln. And my wife and I were up in Glacier National Park where we had no cell service. And Kyle had texted me. Well, I had already had a couple of conversations with Luke and then Marcus, who was head of BD at that time, in like March. So right at about 9 years ago right now. Wasn't really the right fit at the right time. I didn't feel like, I don't think that they knew what they wanted yet. And I didn't really know what I was able to contribute in that space. I didn't really know what it was at that point. And 4 months later, Kyle had texted me and he was like, hey, like these guys like to talk to you again. And I was like, my phone was out of service, man. Like I was in Glacier National Park for like 4 days and a lot of national parks that trip. And so he was, then I get back to service and he's like, oh, okay. Like, I guess you're not interested or whatever. And I got back to him like, dude, I'm so sorry, man. I was like, I've been hiking, man. I've been out in the wilderness, which is one of my favorite places to be. And came back and when we got back to Nebraska, I was like, I'll be back in a few weeks, and revisited that conversation and we were able to see a mutual fit at that time. And so I joined Company Cam, and it was still on folding tables, and everybody had to put their own desk and chair together. That was kind of like the rite of passage to your initiation. And I was there for 3.5 years. Had a failure that cost me that amazing opportunity, but it has led me to many more. And I spent a year getting to proudly wear the Sumo Quote logo on my chest. Still a huge fan of what they've done and what the people that are there are doing, even though it's now part of Job Nimbus. But that was an amazing ride that has just led to some really deep friendships that are still hot, today. So, and then embarked on my own coaching practice 3 years ago. So it's kind of a long-winded way of saying that's how I got here. But
what were some of the things that you saw from your Company Cam days and Sumo Quote days that led to that coaching journey?
Great question, man. So that was definitely not by happenstance. So one of the things that I loved at Company Cam, and I've actually honestly loved kind of throughout life, as I look back, I see that there were these clues happening the whole way. I just didn't really pick them up until I was able to look back at them and see like, oh, all those dots are connected, but I didn't notice it when I was going from one to the next. One of the things is like, I just really love to develop people. I love to help. It's not that I get to develop them. I get to be useful in their development, which is a subtle nuance, but also, very, very powerful in differentiating, because everybody, I believe that all of us have untapped potential inside of us. I have gotten to uncover some of mine with great people that have, been in my life, who are willing to be patient enough and invest enough time and energy and their story into me, to where I've been able to kind of discover who I am. And I love getting the opportunity to do that with other people, which, managing the sales team at Company Cam was wildly exciting to me. I just loved it, taking, people that maybe didn't have a sales background or didn't have they weren't really traditionally in the space or anything like that, and getting to add them to our team based on some of the character qualities that they had. One of the guys that I had the opportunity to hire, these guys are all still there, was, a radiation, doing radiation tech, and just had the right attitude and ended up coming onto our team. That was a great spot for him, but then he actually ended up going over the product team, which is an even better spot for him. Had one guy that worked at UPS for a long time, getting up doing the grind at 3:30 a.m., loading trucks. I mean, I was like, dude knows how to grind. 100 phone calls a day ain't gonna be nothing to him. He's like, I'm in the heat. I'm in my sweats. I'm not out freezing my butt off in Nebraska in the winter, loading trucks. So seeing people like that had something in them that they couldn't necessarily see at that time, and getting to help kind of fan it into flame. That's exciting to me. As it pertains to Sumo Quote, that was actually one of the things that it wasn't really going to be a path forward for me to do that kind of more formally or officially. just with being on, like, I was the only person stateside, or, on this side of the border, everybody else was, based up in Calgary. So it was like, there wasn't really going to get to be this, I couldn't really be an employee. So therefore I couldn't really manage people. Right. So I was like, well, I really love building a team. I want to build a team around me. Like, it's one thing to go to the trade shows and figure out how to do that, but it's also like, how do I get other people to go get on the plane for a few weeks? Like, so, being able to really build into that wasn't going to be a long-term path for me there. And so, after 12 months of that, like, it was awesome. Like, honestly, man, I've got nothing but love for Ryan and Patrick and Chris and Brandon, who's no longer with us, but like, just an amazing group of people up there that, like, I'm leaving so many of them out, and I love you if you're hearing this, Sancha. But just being able to step back gratefully. I had the support of my wife. We're in a position where we're able to do that, where I could, step back and just really, it wasn't even to step back and go start a coaching practice. It was actually stepping back to go figure out, who am I when I'm not my work?
Before we carry on with the episode, let's give a shout out to one of our sponsors. Roofers, let's get real. You're great at building roofs, but are you great at building a steady stream of leads? That's where Job Nimbus Marketing comes in. They know the roofing industry inside and out, and they'll help you dominate Google, Facebook, reputation management, and everything in between. If you want more quality leads, more booked jobs, and more growth, visit the link in the description or the sponsors page on the Roofing Success Podcast website.
Who am I when I'm not my work? I got lost in that, man. Like, I have to admit, I got lost in that. You travel to trade shows. I was, on the trade show floor for 4.5 years, pretty hard, between Company Cam and Sumo Quote. And like, I had this identity that's kind of becoming part of me. And then it wasn't. And it really caused me to, it's kind of like if you get popped in the mouth, like, I don't know if it was Mike Tyson that said, like, everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the mouth. Like, yeah. It's like, that's true. Everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the mouth. And it just kind of set me back a little bit to where I was like, oh, all right. I need to check myself a little bit. Like, I'm not, I didn't want to just be what I did. I think so often there's so many times that we are like defined by what we do. And so people ask us, one of the first questions, very commonly so in our culture, which is not my favorite. You won't hear me ask it. At least I hope not, at least not early in our conversation. But it's like, hey, what do you do? And I'm like, so we're kind of conditioned that way, but also, what I do, like my occupation or my vocation right now might be different in 5 years. Like, it's only a snapshot of who I am, like, right now, but like, who I am is ever evolving, I hope. Right. So, we change jobs, we change roles, we do different things. And, instead of having what I do become who I am, I spent a large part of, like, basically from March till December of 2022, trying to uncover, how do I figure out who I am and then make that what I do instead of the other way around. And so I spent my whole, like, again, my wife was fully supportive. She never touched a dish and she never went to the grocery store for 9 months. 'Cause I was like, I got you, babe. Like, I got you covered. But, I spent all this time, a lot of journaling. I've got pages and pages and pages and pages and pages of journals that are full from that time. But what I found was, when I had nothing dictating my time, the things that I gravitated toward were conversations like this. I was getting coffee with people. I was getting lunch with people. I was having Zooms with people. My wife is like, you're more busy now than you are when you're working full time. Like, which is true. Like I'm a people, like I love being around people. I'm energized by people. I love learning about people. I love being curious about people, finding out where they're from, what, kind of what their challenges have been, what their wins have been, so that maybe I might be able to learn something from them. Maybe I might be able to offer something to them. I have no idea. But it's always been something that's been very life-giving to me, is connecting with people. And even now, in the work that we get to do, like we're doing a lot of stuff, and some of that stuff means sitting behind a spreadsheet or clicking away on the computer. Down to do that for a while, but after a while, if I'm not connecting with people in a real and meaningful way, like I dry up really quick.
So how do you think other people can determine from the lessons you learned in that? Because so many of us as business owners, in the roofing business, as roofing business owners specifically, and that is what we're defined by. We are defined by our work.
Oh yeah.
Right. Like, and that's a huge thing. I think for me, one of the things, I had a friend, and I may have told the story on the podcast before, but I had a friend when we moved to Minnesota in 2015. I went and had lunch with a friend from high school, and he asked me what my hobbies were.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I don't have hobbies. Like, I mean, I do stuff like like there are definitely, I have hobbies, but I realized not long that question stuck in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, my hobby is business.
Yeah.
Like my hobby is marketing. My hobby, like, so I do get to do my hobby. Like
Right.
it's like, it's, but sometimes we don't realize that. And that's not that to me also, I for myself, it's not accepted to say that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like it's not an acceptable answer. What are your hobbies? Well, my hobby is business. I enjoy business and marketing and finance, and like that's not a traditional hobby that people have. But for me, that's what I love. Like you want to have a conversation with me, spark it up about that. And I'm like, we could talk for 3-4 days easy.
Yep.
Talk to me about baseball, and we got about 30 seconds in me. Like it's just,
I'm with you.
It's just my thing. I don't have the hobby. So as business owners, we do get defined by what we do. What advice would you give them around that? What kind of conclusions did you come to in your journey of uncovering this?
Oh man. Advice unsolicited, I guess you solicited it. So anybody else that hears it's gotta just take it if they're listening to this. Otherwise hit pause or skip it. There's an element, especially, I mean, if in the roofing industry, like there's no shortage of type A macho men, right? There's none of that. There's no shortage of that. Like first thing is you got to be able to get over yourself. You got to be able to get over your pride a little bit. Now, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of really strong roofing companies that are building really awesome leaders. But they, they're more the exception than the rule, as I've found in the last, better part of a decade. But they absolutely exist. But I think being willing to just slow down enough, so many people that I get to work with even now, like started this roofing company because either, they thought their boss was terrible at it. So they're like, I know how to sell roofs. I'm going to go do it. But they don't know anything about production or vice versa. And then they go walk into it and then they realize how much they don't know. They end up trapped in it because now they've either got investment in it or they're so far into it that, they can't get out of it. And it's not really the freedom that they thought they were signing up for. So if your goal is money, sure, there's a lot of money to be made in roofing. There's a lot of great relationships to be made in roofing. There's a reason I'm still around. I mean, I know how to do other stuff. I'm not a roofer. I'm scared to death of heights, to be honest with you. Like I live in a 1-story house on purpose. I can clean my own gutters, but I think to it requires intention. You must be willing to actually reflect internally and get to know yourself. And honestly, that's not a very macho thing to say, right? That's not a very type A thing to say. Like, that doesn't show up on my Facebook page when I got my whole fleet of trucks out there that are all wrapped and I'm out there like, oh yeah, I'm getting in touch with my feelings. Like, yeah, I get it. But for me, I will follow somebody who knows who they are way more quickly than I'll follow somebody just because they got like, everything looks flashy from the outside. So yeah, I think being willing to do the work, asking yourself, who am I when I'm not my work? If I didn't have my job, if I didn't have my company, if I didn't have my vocation, what would I be doing right now?
And here's another thought around that is like, we get to become who we can become or do what we love and be the most effective, do the most effective things to our skill set in our company. Mm-hmm. Right? Maybe this is a good direction to go with it. So it's not, we don't have to just define like who we are all the way around, but let's start with maybe within your company. How do you define what you're good at? How do you determine this is what I'm good at? This is what I really enjoy doing. And this is where I should put my time in my company. And then maybe what else, like, then the operational aspect of that is the hiring and passing off of tasks to other people. Am I going the right direction here from a business? If we're taking this lesson and putting it into business context?
I know you're enjoying the episode, but let's give a shout out to another one of our sponsors. I talk to contractors every day that feel stuck. Not because they're not working hard, but because they're missing the structure to growth without chaos, or their culture's falling apart because their team's unclear, unaligned, or just burned out. And when change hits, they're reacting instead of leading because time and priorities aren't under their control. Day 41 Thrive helps to fix that with proven strategies for growth, culture, and leadership that actually work. Ready to thrive beyond the storm? Visit the link in the description or visit the Roofing Success Podcast website on the sponsors page to start your journey today.
If we're taking this lesson and putting it into business context?
Yeah, I don't think there's a difference between business and personal. I mean, yeah, there are in some ways, but as far as what fires us up, like I do the same thing, at least the way that I engage with people is the same in business as it is outside of business, right? Like I don't necessarily feel like there's a huge differentiation for me. I do like to have boundaries around, when I'm available and things like that. Like I'm not just this always on person. I don't wake up and just can't wait to get on my computer and start working. Like I want to have 3 cups of coffee and do my word games. Yeah. And sit in my recliner with my glasses hanging off the end of my nose like an old man. Like I love it. It's actually something I kind of aspire to. But I think like when I am wanting to pursue that, when I want to become something, like actually to your question, like I think about in my head as you were saying that, I got this diagram in my head that I share with my coaching clients. It's something that was shared with me by my dear friend and mentor, Kevin. It's like if you think of like a 4-circle Venn diagram, right? And each of those circles all overlap right in the middle. And those 4 circles are like 4 E's, okay? So what am I excellent at? Like, what do I just do with excellence? What comes easy to me? What do I really enjoy doing? What gives me life? And then that brings you to what gives you energy. So energy, excellence, enjoyment, and ease. Like if you can find something that you check all the boxes on that, like there you go. Like you go try that for a little while, right? So for me, something that I feel excellent as, like I feel like I'm pretty good at making friends. Like I'm good at acquainting myself with new people, and just based on things like, again, themes that I've seen happen in my life, is that I'm able to establish trust relatively quickly with people. That's a great trait to have if you're in sales, or if you're in any kind of relational business. But also, like, I've gotten excellent at it, and again, always got room to grow. But this is all feedback I've gotten from other people who know me. Right? I can remember certain dates. I can remember certain details about people. I don't know why. I don't sit there with flashcards and try to do it. It just happens. So it comes easy to me. And I'm excellent at it, and I enjoy it, because I love when I get to, like, call something out that I've heard of somebody, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe you remember that." It just makes them feel seen, makes them feel connected, makes them feel heard, and it gives me energy then, because I love being able to provide that for other people. Because there's been times in my life when I didn't necessarily feel that was true for me. I didn't necessarily always feel seen, and that's not a dig on anybody that was in my life and around me. Like, there are times that's how I felt. And so for me, it's really fun. That gives me a new level of empathy to, like, really be able to add that to somebody else's life.
That's awesome. Now let's talk about the path to, I guess, excellence, or the path to, like, how does one, like, now you're starting to become aware, right? I think self-awareness is one of those. It's been said that self-awareness is one of the highest level traits of, like, a CEO, entrepreneur, high level leader, right? Self-awareness is a high thing. In that self-awareness, we know that we're lacking in some. We can be self-aware of where we're lacking, right? Right. What is a path to then pursue that excellence?
Are you asking, like, to pursue, like, how do I become self-aware, or how do I do something with it once?
No, now that I'm aware of it, right?
Yeah.
Now I'm aware of it. I know where I want to go. I see what I want this to look like.
Uh-huh.
Right. I see that this is the goal now. Now we have I've determined, I've looked at what the ease is. I've looked at, what I'm excellent. I've looked at the 4 E's there.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, okay, now I want to put this into action.
Yeah.
Like, let's put this into action.
As hard as it is for me to sometimes move forward without a plan, and I say sometimes, like, I'm a planner. Like, I love to have a plan. I love to know what I'm building before I build it. Love to know where I'm going before I get in the car. I love all those things. Like, those things give me security, and structure, which, again, like, I can trace that all back to where that stemmed from and why that's important to me. But, a lot of it is just simply, I mean, actually there's a reason. So I know that if somebody's listening to this and not watching it, but right over my shoulder, there's this little 6x6 painting. And this, I'm just going to snag it this right here is largely to credit as to why I coach. So this is a painting, and Jim, since you're the only one here live with me, what do you see right here?
It looks like an apple.
Uh-huh. You had to squint a little bit. You had to second guess a little bit, right?
Yeah.
So the artist says that this is an apple. The artist was my nephew when he was 7 years old. He's going to be 21 this year. And he painted this. Now, why this is always behind me, where I can see it and where my clients and anybody else can see it, is very intentional, that this is right over my shoulder all day. Because when I'm talking to you, I can see it. When you're talking to me, you can see it. And the people that know what it's about know why it's there, and now you do too. But when my niece and nephew, the oldest two, were very young, they would always, for Christmas, be like, "Hey, what do you want?" Art supplies, right? They want art supplies. Awesome. So we go to Michael's or Hobby Lobby or whatever. We just get them, paint, canvases, drawing, colors, like, colored pencils, anything that you could think of. Like, they were just always into it. And the thing is, I didn't actually tell him to give me this back. He painted this. with no direction, no instruction from anybody. Nobody told him to paint an apple. Nobody said paint an apple that is bigger than the canvas that you're painting it on. Like nobody said anything about how to paint it. He just painted it. And he did it in his way, with what he saw, with what he felt, like what he was in him came out onto this canvas. And so this was actually very instrumental through one of my journaling sessions in September of 2022. Was like, what is it? What is it that is me? Like, what is it? What am I supposed to be doing with my time, with my life, with how I'm spending myself? And journaling through that, it was abundantly clear to just paint the apple. Just paint the apple. Like, I've got a canvas that is my life. I have colors that nobody else has. You, Jim, have colors that nobody else has. You have a mix. Like you look at like hex codes. I mean, being a marketing guy, like hex codes and RGBs and like how many different combos. I mean, they're almost endless, the combos of colors that we can create. I have mine and you have yours. I can paint whatever I want on my canvas and it will always be mine. You can paint whatever you want on your canvas, which you're doing as well, right? Like if we were all marketing people, wow. If I break my leg or if I need a heart transplant, like I don't want a marketing guy doing that, right?
Sure.
There's a reason. No, not trying to dig on you, dude, especially on your show, right? But what I realized through that is just go paint my apple. Like, so if you got a canvas, we've only got one. We've only got one canvas. We don't know how big it is at all. I don't have any idea if I'm going to be here by the time this podcast drops. I don't know if I'm going to be here in 15 years. I have no idea. But what I want to do today is I want to paint my apple. I want to put my colors on the canvas in a way that nobody else can. And then if you notice, there's other apples. There's another one there. There's another one there. This one's from a client. This is from another niece. Like I've started to get these apples from people and I love it. But the whole thing is like, what is it that you really want to paint? Like when you're really, like if you can really slow down enough to think about how you want to be remembered.
I know you're enjoying the episode, but let's give a shout out to another one of our sponsors. If you and your team aren't trained on AI yet, you're already falling behind. Competitors using AI are generating more leads, closing jobs faster, and running leaner. The AI roofing revolution gives your team the training to implement AI so you stay ahead, not scramble to catch up. Don't wait until you're losing. Get trained now at the link in the description or the sponsors page of the Roofing Success Podcast website.
The whole thing is like, what is it that you really want to paint? Like when you're really, like if you can really slow down enough to think about how you want to be remembered, it will affect everything you do today. I think about like the oldest person that I know, like that I actually met, that I can tell you their name, would be my great grandfather. I don't remember him. All I remember is that he used to give me the little bubble packaging stuff and I'd pop that. That's all I remember. And I don't even know if he did that like on occasion or if it was like one time and it stuck with me. But I remember those things, but I couldn't really tell you anything else about him other than name and just maybe that he gave me that bubble wrap and things I've heard from other people. So in 100 years from now, nobody's going to know who Jeff Valder is. Like they really won't. I'm not going to be in any history books. They're not going to know anything about me because that's my own family 3 generations ago, and I don't know hardly anything about them. But I'll guarantee you that there are things that my great-grandfather passed on to my grandfather, who passed them on to my mom, who passed them on to me. I am receiving the way that they lived. Terry Gwaltney, who I know you've had on the podcast before, like he shared with me the 5-generation rule. Like it's like your impact is 5 generations deep. Like my wife and I do not have children of our own. But man, like I still believe that the way that I live and how it affects my nieces and my nephews and people that are just around me, like they're being impacted and hopefully impacted in a way that's positive. Just this last week, I was at my mom's house and like she told me that I was contagious and it was complimentary. She meant it in a complimentary way.
Yeah.
And I said, Mom, we're all contagious. All of us are contagious. But what are we infecting people with? Right? There are times, dude, I'll tell you right now, Costco on a Saturday, I'm infecting people with the wrong stuff. Don't go to Costco on a Saturday, man. That's my fault. Right? But I want to be infecting people with the right stuff so that even if nobody knows my name, that somewhere I'm affecting generations that will come after me. Because without that, what am I really here for?
So that sounds like a tall order.
Yeah.
Like saying it that way, right? Like that's a tall order. That's putting a lot of weight on someone's shoulders. Mm-hmm. You said you like to plan very much so, like to plan things out.
Yeah.
Plans don't always work out, Jeff.
Ooh, you don't say.
Right? And we had a conversation the other day and we were talking about like excellence versus perfection, right? And the path to that. And, as we put this weight on our shoulders of legacy and as we, that perfection, the striving for perfection instead of excellence is something that's like, I think that might deter people from getting to their goal more than not.
Yeah.
Speak to like your thoughts on that excellence versus perfection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would say that for the majority of my life, I would have classified myself as a perfectionist and I would have worn it as a badge of honor. I don't want to ever associate myself as being a perfectionist from this day forward because it's unachievable. It's unattainable. Like if I told you like, hey, just keep swimming that way, but you'll never get to land, are you going to go? No, you're going to be like, I'm going to run out of gas. It's not going to end well. But when and this is a shift that's happened for me just within the last couple of years, is like, instead of striving for perfection and constantly letting myself and others down, and then I start guilting myself and shaming myself, and I go into this spiral, and then I go down, and I'm like, I'm worthless, I suck, everything I touch turns to crap. Like this whole narrative gets stronger and the volume gets turned up on it. I don't add anything to anybody else when I think and feel poorly about myself. So giving myself enough grace to just slow down and say like, I don't have to be perfect. I might honestly be working against this. I might be swimming upstream against this for the rest of my life, man. It's not like I just all of a sudden something flipped and now I just let it all go and it's fine. But being excellent is different than being perfect. I can strive for excellence every day and I might get there. It's always, I can do things with excellence. I know I can do things with excellence. I've done things today that I think I've done with excellence, but I haven't done anything perfectly today. And so while there is a lot of weight to it, I think it's a weight that's worth carrying. I think it's a weight like, there's no shortage of ineffective leadership in our world. And that's not a commentary on current events. That is just like, that is no matter what generation you come from, there is no shortage of ineffective leadership in our world. And so much of that ineffective leadership is where the leader puts themselves first. And when they do that, they're not really leading. they think so. But I mean, my working definition of leadership has always been that leadership means that you have people following you when they have the option not to.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So if I'm only leading you because my paycheck depends on it, or my job depends on it, or whatever the case is, my livelihood depends on it, my life depends on it, I'm not really leading. You're not really leading me. Leaders don't create leaders. Leaders don't create followers. They create leaders. Effective leaders create leaders, not followers. And I think to me, it gives me a new purpose, because otherwise, I mean, like I said, I don't have a natural pathway for a legacy to go down to my kids, to their kids, to their kids, right? I want the fact that I existed on this planet to matter. And I don't care if you remember my name or mispronounce my name or put an N where it doesn't belong or whatever. I don't really care. It doesn't matter to me. I'm more interested in, like, did I add value to you in whatever short time we got to spend together, whether it was a 3-minute conversation on the trade show floor or whether it was a 30-year relationship with somebody that I've known since college. Did I add value to you? And not for my own sake, but for yours.
So in effective leadership, right? We're going to put the word effective in front of it. In effective leadership, what are some things that you would tell people? This is how you get people to buy into striving for excellence, right? Because there is also leaders that look for perfection in their team. And I think that that's a big challenge, right? If you are, none of your team is ever going to be perfect. You're not perfect. And so when you build that company culture around, hey, we're all going in this direction, we're all striving for excellence, that creates a really fundamentally great culture. What are your thoughts on what are some things that, like, you've seen done, you coach on to help leaders develop that company culture?
Wow, there's so many things going through my head right now. The first one, though, Jim, is actually, like, more about acknowledging the failure, not living in it, but acknowledging it. Several years ago, I was invited to just present something that was, paint my apple, so to speak, with Randy Brothers in his Roofing Academy mastermind. And I was like, well, what do you want me to bring? He's like, I don't like anything. And I was like, okay, like, one of my favorite topics, one of my favorite things is leadership. And so I start writing, and I was like, oh, I'll just brainstorm. I'm going to brain dump everything I can that I feel that's in me about leadership, things I've learned, things that, like, really resonate with me. And man, I kept doing that. And I was like, there's no way in heck I can do this. I was like, there's no way. Like, if people know what my life looks like, if people know what my relationship with my wife, or, like, the person I talk to at the store, or whatever, like, nobody's going to believe me. But what I did was I flipped the title of that talk to how to fail as a leader. All of a sudden, I'm speaking from a position of authority on the matter, because I have failed miserably as a leader in ways that just, I shouldn't even still, like, there are things that, like, didn't have the consequence that they should have had. And it's crazy to me that I'm still, like, living through those. And so, one of the first things is, like, going back, like, we did talk about self-awareness, right? Like, and I just use this metaphor a lot of just being in Costco, grab a hot dog, you're running around grabbing stuff, maybe eating some samples, because what else would you do at Costco on Saturday at 2:00? You get mustard on your face, and you're by yourself pushing your cart around. And if I don't know that I've got mustard on my face, that's one thing. But if you walk up to me and say, hey, sir, like, looks like you got a little mustard on the side of your face there. I don't know if that's what it is. Just want to give you a heads up, or, and if I just walk around and say, oh, thanks. And then you see me 5 minutes later in a different aisle and I still have mustard on my face. Like, are you going to tell me again? No. Like, I'm not willing to take the feedback of my own self-awareness and do something about it. So self-awareness is one thing, but you also, if you're not willing to do something about it, that's a whole different thing. But self-awareness is a great place to start. And it takes vulnerability. It takes humility. Go to the people that you think know you the best and ask them, what's it like to be across from me? What's it like to experience me when I'm stressed out? What's it like to be around me on a Friday when I've just had a bear of a week at work? What's it like to be with me then? And if you're not ready for the answer, don't ask it. But find people, and if you don't have people in your life that you can ask that to that will truly give you an honest response, you're probably in the wrong rooms. Like, I have a whole bunch of people that I could call right now and be like, hey, like, where's my blind spots that you can see, right?
Yeah.
So being able to, that gets you to self-awareness, but then also being vulnerable enough to like be willing to hear it and willing to do something with it. Because one of the toughest things for anybody to do, well, maybe not for anybody, I don't want to blanket statement anything. For me, it used to be much more difficult to be vulnerable. Now that I've seen the power that comes out of other people when I start, it's wild, man. The stories that I've gotten to hear, the insights I've gotten into people's lives in a one-on-one coaching conversation, or whether it's in a group dynamic, the people, if you want somebody to trust you, if you want to lead well, you need people to trust you. If you want people to trust you, get vulnerable. Doesn't mean just go start making stuff up, but share where you're struggling, share where you're falling short. I was terminated from a job that I absolutely loved at Company Cam. Just loved it, man. Like, and it was actually, let's see, it'll be 5 years ago next Monday, because it was on my wife's birthday, which is next Monday. I couldn't have felt smaller because I just felt like I had failed so huge. And so for my wife, she was coming home, we were going to go out to dinner. Instead, it was like, hey, babe, guess what? I just lost my job. Right? That took a lot. And I ain't going to lie, man, I didn't just bounce right back from that at all. Sometimes I still feel like I'm tripping over stuff that's behind me. But what I have learned is that it's given me opportunity to make better, like, I see things differently now. But in that moment, it was important to me. I got what was now my former team on a Zoom, and I just said, hey, I blew it. Here's what I did. Here's what the consequences are. I do not have any say in the matter. I will not sass or bad talk or anybody. I made my bed. I have responsibility in this. Is there gray area? Yeah, we can sit and argue that all day. But ultimately, when it comes down to it, I take responsibility for my actions. I've got extreme ownership sitting right in front of me all the time, right under my computer. And like, these are just my books that I go to all the time. And it's something that taking ownership and accountability of it lets me be free faster. It lets me move on and start adding value in new places. It's cost me a lot. It cost me a lot of relationships. It cost me what was then my social life, right? Like, Company Cam was much smaller than it is now, very tight knit. And it hurt, man. Like, it hurt bad. But I also had a responsibility in it. And I couldn't just point fingers at other people. Like, I took responsibility for myself And sometimes I still have to. Sometimes I still have to choose to be like, hey, I'm not a victim here. Like, this isn't, victim mindset doesn't get anybody anywhere. Reggie Brock always tells me, like, your victim card ran out. Like, he says that, in traditional Reggie Brock fashion. It's expired. And it is. Like, it doesn't do me any good to rue the past. But it is worth looking in the rearview mirror every now and again just to remember where it was that I just came from. Yeah.
You had mentioned it early on. It's like when you look back now, you're like, oh, all of this stuff happened. It's the hindsight is 2020.
Always,
right?
man.
And it's but I also heard in there a little bit of like you're still dragging some of it along, right? There was when you went to Randy's event and the way that you framed that presentation and which is a little, like, we'll call it imposter syndrome that you get in terms of this, like, public speaking and stuff like that, right? And so
you got it right this second, Jim.
Yeah, it all happens, man.
Yeah.
It's the same stuff that happens over and over and over again in our lives. So again, kind of going back and maybe like, what does the journey look like for someone when you're coaching them? I'm sure that you're having these conversations with others that are feeling that way, right?
Yeah.
Like, what does someone do to continue to strive for excellence?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of slowly let go of those things they're dragging along.
Yeah.
And I mean, some of them are good to drag along. I'll tell you, like, there are some lessons that you learn in life that you got to keep that one in your pocket because you don't want that one to come back again, right? Like, and so some of them you want to keep a little closer, but like in that pursuit of excellence, right? Like, how would you coach? Me and you are sitting down in a coaching session right now, and I'm on my way to that pursuit of excellence. I'm having that imposter syndrome. I have all these things that I made, all these mistakes that I made. What's my path, Jeff? Where do I go from here?
Something that I've shared, something that I've offered, and something that I've learned from, and I'll share this with you and offer it if it's of any value. Is, but I love the Jason Bourne movies. In the Bourne Legacy is actually not really a Jason Bourne movie, but I love all 5 of the Bourne series. We watch them about once a year. We'll just watch all of them in like a Saturday or, maybe over a weekend. But one thing that Jason Bourne always does is like he beats the guy up, then he takes his gun and he takes his radio or whatever it is that he can take with him, right? But he doesn't carry the 230-pound guy. He takes the parts that are beneficial to him. Right? So something that I share both with clients and with myself is I remind myself, leave the mistake. Take the lesson. You don't have to carry the mistake. You get to carry the lesson. If I punch this dude and I throw him over my shoulder and I start carrying him through life and then I do it again, like, I'm going to buckle. Leave the mistake laying right there, but take the lesson out of its pocket and keep moving.
That's great advice, Jeff. Great way to end this. This has been another episode of the Roofing Success Podcast.
Thank you for tuning into the Roofing Success Podcast. For more valuable content, visit roofingsuccesspodcast.com. While there, check out our sponsors for exclusive offers, shop for merchandise, and sign up for our newsletter for industry updates and tips. Also, join the Roofing Success Facebook group to connect with other professionals and stay updated on the latest trends. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, like, share, and leave a comment. Your support helps us continue to bring you top industry insights. The website link is in the description. Thanks for listening.